Hello there, everyone on YouTube. It's me, Aka Plays, and this is another interview with the fabulous Eivor One-eye of the Legacy of Valyria submod team. Say hi, Eivor.
Hello, everybody.
And we're just gonna talk about several exciting things that have gone on in the the Crusader Kings 3. I really want to say Game of Thrones. For some reason, I wonder why. But anyway. Yes, the game. The game has changed. Obviously, we are. Sorry, about two major DLCs have been announced by Paradox this year. First one coming out at the end of the month is Khans of the Steppe, and the second really big one is a massive map expansion into East Asia, and that will come out by the end of the year. So, Ivor, for
Yeah.
Legacy of Valyria, obviously set in Westeros. What will your mods update for Khans of the Steppe look like?
Well, so far the plan we have is going to be massive updates coming from our side between April and all the way to June. Um, we do have plans to rework the entire building systems, the colonization systems. We plan on going back to have our focus on Valyria itself.
Mm-hmm.
So, so far the plan we have is going to be massive updates from April and all the way to June. We plan on making massive reworks in regards to the colonization system. We plan on doing some building balancing and even adding more buildings overall to what we have.
Ooh.
So far, our focus is going to be Valyria itself, simply because we have somewhat an idea that AGOT itself is going to come out with some pretty big updates and expansions at any time soon.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is, as we see with Bravos that just came out, we have the two big updates coming out from Paradox, so we can only assume that AGOT got something coming at any moment.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to sit here and basically waste our time to say it as it is. We don't want to
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
create something just for it to be removed shortly after. So our main focus is going to be get our baseline back to what it was
Yeah.
in the proper systems, such as magic systems, such as the colonization,
Mm-hmm.
proper game
Yes.
concepts, proper events again, our crafting system, all of that, but make it so it's going to be more uh, player friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And we want it to be more in contact with the lore that's been seen in the movies and in the books rather than have an actual system. Because as we know from the books and everything else, the magic in that world is not predictable.
Mm-hmm.
And it shouldn't be predictable.
Yeah.
So that is going to be our main focus, at least throughout April and all the way to June. That's going to be heavily focused on malaria.
Mm-hmm. Good. Apt for something called Legacy of Valyria. Let's
Exactly.
say. Talking of the crafting system, what changes will be made to that?
The province system.
No, the crafting system.
Oh, the crafting system. So, as many people mostly know by now, one of our league code developers, I'm not going to mention his name here, but he decided to opt out.
Mm-hmm.
And when he decided to leave, he made the request of getting his stuff removed,
Mm-hmm.
specifically the things that he created. And that was, in fact, the colonization system, the crafting, and all of that.
Yeah.
And out of respect for him, we decided to agree to it. But luckily for us, we have had pretty good contact with the Lord of the Rings mod.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's called Exile something.
Realms in Exile.
Yes, exactly. Realms in Exile. And we have been so lucky. that they have agreed and given us permission to actually use the systems that they have there.
Mm-hmm.
We are still going to bring in the whole idea of you have to have certain provinces that will give you certain items such as metal, gold, Valyrian steel.
Dragon eggs, hopefully.
Yes, but the UI and the overall system that's going to be created there is going to be heavily based on the system they use in Realms of Exile.
I
And
see.
that's again because we want to make it as close to base game, so it's user friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And overall, because we don't want to change too much of the game out from what it actually is.
Yeah.
We still want the players to sit here when they play a CK3 game and feel like this is actually the CK3 game, just
Mm-hmm.
with a mod attached to it, rather than a completely different game. Um, so yeah, um,
Good, good. Yeah.
some of the bigger changes that we've been talking about too is maybe try to make a trading system,
Mm-hmm. Oh.
and we want to somewhat connect that to the crafting. So, for example, you need iron to create a certain kind of sword, but you don't have it. But you might have bronze instead.
Interesting. So this is maybe a bit like the artifacts marketplace, but a sort of a modified version of that, maybe.
Exactly, exactly. That's somewhat what we're looking into now, but that will be in the future, mostly after June.
Mm.
That is when we will be starting to have our focus on the crafting and magic and
Yeah.
certain things in those regards, and that's also because we think from what we've seen in the CK3 DLCs that they might actually come out with some systems themselves
Interesting.
that we
Okay.
might be able to work with. Now, whether or not that's going to happen, we cannot say 100% with a certainty,
Mm.
but here's for hoping, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. Mm. One thing, obviously, that we know, vanilla. I'm not going to say never because they did come out with sort of a witchy thing for DLC for CK3, I think. But
Yes.
one of the things we know that vanilla will never sort of um, uh, sort of add to the historical side of the game, shall I say, is magic. So, what changes will you be making to the magic system?
So the system we had before, that was more or less the same system that you would see in games such as Warhammer,
Mm.
Total War, or other fantasy games. And that's not really what the magic in Game of Thrones or Song of Ice and Fire is actually about. As I
Mm.
said earlier, it's pretty unpredictable. And we want it to be like that. Our main focus when it comes to the magic is going to be in Essos and in Valyria, mostly because we know that Aegon is working on their magic system.
Mm. Oh.
And yes, I believe it was Fox Willow, and if it was not him, then it has been Underbar or Undbar. Yeah, his name, who made a Reddit not too long ago in regards to this magic system that they are creating.
Mm. Mm.
And we try not to step on their toes too much, basically because we don't want to redo everything. We don't want to put something in just for it to get removed.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So the magic path that we're gonna get until they release theirs is going to be at a minimum until they have released theirs.
Mm. Mm.
And that will be seen in ways such as events, such as um, magical creatures in the southern areas of the map,
Mm.
um, such as the vampire bats. That's something I know that Bear is working on at the moment.
Ah.
Yes, and overall, to get the magic feeling, like get the feeling that the magic is actually there, without 100% confirmation that it's actually there.
Mm.
in the same way as we see from the shows and the books.
Obviously.
That's yeah.
Down,
It's
now I'm thinking of like vampire Batman at arms.
yeah, like we know from the books, and we know from the content that we actually been reading on that some people have actually in this fantasy world used the vampire bats as warriors or as creatures fighting for them.
Ooh.
So that would definitely be a possibility in the future to have vampire bats, for example, as man at arms. But it will be a limited amount of them. So it's not gonna be an entire army
Yeah.
only of vampire bats. Or not.
I imagine though, like having like a vampire king in Valyria. Oh my god, that would be so good.
Yes.
But anyway, before I get too excited, um, so you mentioned that uh, obviously, well, you mentioned a lot of things. Will you be adding any more land to the map? Because obviously, you did merge with a mod previously known as Essos Expansion, which wasn't just Valyria, but all sort of areas outside, like Volantis, like Slaver's Bay, and now you've added Ashai and I think a little island in like the Eastern Sea. Will you be adding any more?
So far, we have been in contact with another mother called Varus, and he is mostly known from the mods where he expands down to Sophos.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I'm butchering that name, but we know that he has been expanding in those areas, and luckily for us, he agreed to join our team.
Oh,
So that is actually something that we're working on that will get out pretty soon too, along with the colonization system. That is something we are working on as we speak.
very
I
nice.
can even see in our chat that they are talking about small extra events because we don't want to just add in the actual land area. We want to
Mm-hmm.
give it a bit of a chef kiss to it, a bit of
Yes,
a
yeah.
what's the word of it? It's
Finishing touches.
yes, but we also wanted to actually feel like there's something to go there for.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just going to be a empty wasteland, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, exciting.
With that, though, I know for a fact that we have been focusing a bit on a few other small islands between Astapor and all the way to Ashai.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've been
But
seeing
then
this.
again,
Sorry.
so far we're trying to focus our main efforts and overall energy on what we already have, simply because we know from what we see with A God itself that they are most likely going to expand at some point now. And the second we know what they have brought out to us, that's when we know what should we have our focus on. And our focus would most likely be Yitai,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's most likely going to be the islands right out in front of Ashai.
Yeah.
It will most likely continue to be in the southern areas and around, of course, Valyria.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to see what's going to be left whenever Aegon is going to update.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And then we will
that'd
most
be good.
likely go for that.
Nice, nice, very nice. Can't wait. Um, so, will you be adding any more lamps?
Adding any more land.
Um, hang on, no, sorry, that's an acronym I heard. Anyway, what I mean is, will you be adding any more landless adventurers?
Oh, yes. Yes. So far, we have been having a bit of fun
Mm-hmm.
in regards to the fact that we want to try and get at least the lead developers of, Legacy of Valyria in
Mm-hmm.
there as adventurers that could either join your team or be what's it called, playable characters that you can
Yes,
have
yeah,
fun with.
yeah.
but on a more in touch with what's actually known in the game or in the stories and in the universe.
Mm,
We have Arion, of course, the Emperor. That's the bookmark that Draco is working on.
mm, mm.
And I know we've been talking about having the opportunity to maybe make someone from the Iron Islands as being,
Ooh.
traveling to Valyria because we do know the story of this one pirate. I do not remember his name,
Mm.
but I know that you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. And we've been talking about maybe creating a small bookmark for him and his travel to Valyria and what happens if he decides to stay there.
Ooh, interesting.
Um, I also know we've been talking about creating some characters that we know for a fact went to the southern areas
Mm.
of the world, um, and even some of the characters that went to Asai. So I know that we're going to work on a few bookmarks and a few different characters, but their names and exactly what they're going to be,
Mm.
that is not something I know of yet. It's very much in the brainstorming and in the early access process of VIP, work in
Fair enough. Yeah,
progress.
yeah. Mm. Trade secret, obviously.
Yes, yes.
Right. So, what will the new colonization system look like?
So that's a really good question.
Mm-hmm.
So far, we are trying to make two different systems. We're trying to make one specifically for people with zero DLCs.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because we believe that everybody should have the opportunity to take part in our mod, despite whether or not you have the DLCs.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
No, obviously, yeah.
And that is going to be in somewhat way of what we've seen prior, back in when we had the colonization, the colonized Valyria,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where instead of you going for a hunt, that system going to hunt one animal or you're going to a feast,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, then it's going to be you can go for a hunt on a ruin. You can hunt for a ruin, you can hunt for a
Mm.
province, and even a whole duchy.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Very good.
we have heard people, and we have heard what they said. And one of the major things that we decided from the get go is the prices needs to make sense.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing we had before with the prices go up the more you earn, there's no logic to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that we we deleted as one of the first things
Yes,
when we
yeah.
decided to rework it.
I still
Um,
remember sort of like, and this was sort of the early days when the mod was, as you say, was in
yes,
its infancy.
a
I
lot of
was
us do.
like taking multiple loans from the Iron Bank and going like, oh my god, how will I ever pay this off?
Exactly. But there's been a lot of us, even on the team too, who really miss the old system that we had, and
Mm-hmm.
that is something that we are recreating. That is something that we're trying to bring back because it worked,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no reason to move away from things that works.
Exactly.
And
If it's not broken, don't fix it.
exactly. The other thing is going to be for people who has the DLCs,
Mm-hmm.
specifically the people who has the tours and tournaments DLCs.
Mm-hmm.
That is still very early on, and it's still something that we really, in the early stages of. But we still do have the plan to create it so if you want to colonize,
Mm-hmm.
how are you gonna do it? Do you take one loan from the Iron Bank? If you do so, how long is the loan going to last? And what happens if you don't pay it back?
Yeah, yeah.
If you want to colonize, is there some of the older houses that's still alive that you want to bring with you? For example, the Targaryens or the Valarians, or is there some? somewhere else? Do you want to call back the what can you call it? The people who fled Valyria that's
Mm-hmm.
around Essos. Do you want to call those people back to try and mass rebuild Valyria?
Oh,
Right.
interesting. Yeah.
So we working on different phases of how to do that,
Yeah.
and again without having to pay, let's say, 100,000 just for one province, because it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So that is something that we're working on to bring it more immersion to the game, right? For
Yeah.
example, if you're a pirate, do you really need to pay something to colonize or to
Exactly.
claim
Yeah. Yeah.
that area? No,
Mm-mm-mm.
you shouldn't. So that's ways that we're trying to work around that, and then using the tools and tournaments to give us multiple different ways to colonize.
Very good. I can't say how glad I am, by the way, that you include a colonized duchy button, because
Yes,
like every time I like go to, and sorry for any RIE devs that are watching this, but anyway, we need a colonized duchy button because
yes,
it's just so, if you go like
it
province
was
by province,
tiresome.
it's tiresome. Yeah.
It was tiresome. We actually did the math for it. It would take you 120 years just to colonize Lokiria
Yeah.
alone
Yeah.
if you had to do this like entire system. And in regards to the money part,
Hmm.
we're talking almost 1 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
You waste 120 years in game time just to get that small area of the map.
Yeah. Hmm.
It shouldn't. You're playing a game to have fun, not to sit there and look at a
Exactly.
loading
Yeah.
screen.
Oh my god,
So,
that's almost something that I could see like Koi doing, going, I spent 1 million just to colonise Valyria or something like that. Ugh.
yeah, but that is something that, yeah, we have taken it into consideration. We have heard what people said, and we have been reading the comments both on Reddit but also in our servers. And we can only agree that we share the same way of thinking as our community when
Good,
it comes to the colonization system and the ways that it should be created.
brilliant.
And of course, we do appreciate all types of suggestions, either on Reddit or our server, even in our DMs. I know it's not everybody who's too happy of just writing something out publicly. So we also encourage people to reach out in our DMs if they have any suggestions. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we highly appreciate it. We want to make it a game for everybody and not just the developers.
Yep, yep. So, final question: have you added any new weapons?
So far, so far, I know that Smithy, who is our weapons guy, has been extremely busy.
Mm, mm,
He does have some school in real life. I know he has his work too, and he just joined the AGOT base mod team.
mm.
So I know that he's also working for them at the moment with a lot of weapons that has to come out at some point pretty soon. So not too many weapons other than what we already implemented, but I do know that he has a few that more or less going to be there with our new update
Mm.
without saying too much.
Ooh, okay. So I will. Thank you very much for coming. Um, by the way, guys, if any of you want to join the Legacy of Valyria team, please do. They need all the help they can get. They need Ivor. What do you need, especially right now?
Especially anyone who knows how to do 3D modeling or wishes to learn 3D modeling. That is something that we are in dire need of
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to our team. With that said, though, if you do have any interest in either learning how to script, how to do colonization, not colonization, localization, or just overall wants to learn how to mod in CK3, we do have some people on our team who's actually using their time to teach others. Because again, we do want this to be a project for the community and not just the developers. So anyone who wishes to learn, anyone who has small amount of knowledge, whether it be in coding or yeah, anything, feel free to reach out. And you can do that either by reaching out to me personally, or you can reach out to Savvy, who's always active in our community server.
Hmm.
And if you feel more safe by using a ticket, we also do have the new system we just got up here. What is it? A day or two ago,
Hmm.
called Contact Developers. And by clicking that, you get in contact with us directly.
Hmm.
And yeah, again, we are um, up for basically everything. Doesn't matter how much knowledge you have. You can basically be a guy like me who has zero knowledge on anything when it comes to coding or modding or anything like that.
Hmm.
And we'll do what we can to help you.
God, I can't mostly. But anyway, yeah. Thank you very much for coming, Ivor.
Thank
I
you for
hope you
having
have a
me.
great day. Everyone, I've been Aka Plays, and this has been Ivor. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to have a new video for you as well, either this week or next. So I will see you then. Bye, guys.